Imagine starting your morning with the world abuzz. Headlines blare that Europe's historic fight against climate change is at a crossroads. For decades, such a scenario would have seemed outlandish. The European Union, with its centuries-spanning tradition of diplomacy, groundbreaking invention, and economic might, has long stood at the forefront of the global push for a greener future. The continent has made it a point of pride to be the trailblazer, setting the benchmark for other world powers, championing bold environmental goals, and leveraging its immense single market to drive industries towards sustainability. Yet today, the very core of that leadership is at risk. From the ornate corridors of Brussels to the bustling streets of Berlin, from the romantic avenues of Paris to Poland's industrial heartlands, a pressing question reverberates. Has the European Green Deal reached its breaking point? And what does that mean for all of us? To grasp the gravity of this moment, let's travel back to December in the year 2019, a time when the air in the European Commission's headquarters buzzed with hope and resolve. The unveiling of the European Green Deal was more than a policy announcement. It was a declaration of intent. Europe would become the world's first climate-neutral continent by the year 2050. This was not just a lofty aspiration. The plan laid out a roadmap: reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero, supercharge the growth of renewable energy sources like wind and solar, drive up energy efficiency from city skyscrapers to rural homes, transform the way people and goods move, and fiercely protect Europe's unrivaled biodiversity. But the Green Deal was never only about the environment. It promised to reinvent the European economy, creating millions of future-proof, high-quality jobs, sparking technological breakthroughs, and ensuring Europe's competitiveness in a rapidly evolving global arena. In the months that followed, the Green Deal became the bedrock of European economic strategy, the moral backbone of EU diplomacy, and an inspiration for young activists, seasoned lawmakers, and ambitious entrepreneurs alike. The scale of investment was staggering. The European Union pledged to mobilize trillions of euros, yes, trillions, to fund the green transformation. The commitment was not just to innovation, but to fairness. Special funds, like the Just Transition Mechanism, were established to support regions heavily reliant on coal and other polluting industries. Think of towns in Silesia, southern Poland, or the mining valleys of northern Hungary communities, where generations had built their livelihoods on fossil fuels. The promise was that no one, no matter where they lived or worked, would be left behind. The first wave of the Green Deal unleashed a surge of optimism. National governments, the European Parliament, and the private sector coalesced behind the vision. European companies, sensing a tectonic shift, accelerated investments in green technologies. Startups flourished, from Spanish innovators developing cutting-edge solar panels to Danish engineering firms building the world's most advanced wind turbines. German automakers, long symbols of industrial might, began rolling out fleets of electric vehicles and investing in hydrogen infrastructure. New professions emerged: energy auditors, grid engineers, urban farmers, battery chemists, offering hope to workers in regions grappling with industrial decline. Across the continent, a new sense of possibility took hold. Europe was reimagining its future, one solar panel, one wind turbine, one smart city at a time. But beneath the surface, fault lines were emerging. In regions where coal mining and heavy industry had been woven into the fabric of daily life for centuries, skepticism simmered. Some rural and industrial communities feared they would bear the brunt of the transformation, while prosperous urban centers would reap most of the rewards. Political parties on the right began voicing doubts, questioning whether the costs of the transition were being distributed fairly, and whether Brussels had the right to dictate national energy and climate policies. These concerns, at first quietly murmured, gradually found a chorus among voters anxious about rising energy bills, job security, and the sheer pace of change. Fast forward to today, and the political landscape has shifted dramatically. The rise of the Patriots for Europe, a formidable alliance of far-right parties representing countries from Italy and Austria to France and Hungary, has upended established power dynamics in the European Parliament. Their electoral platform was clear: push back against what they view as overreaching and unrealistic green mandates from Brussels, restore national sovereignty over climate choices, and prioritize economic stability over rapid decarbonization. Their message struck a chord with millions, especially in regions feeling left behind by globalization and technological upheaval. For the first time, this far-right bloc holds a pivotal role in shaping Europe's climate future. Imagine the negotiating rooms in Brussels' austere, high-ceilinged chambers, where career diplomats, seasoned lawmakers, and technical experts now sit across from newly empowered political outsiders. A new reality is one of intense debate, fierce lobbying, and high stakes. Simone Tagliapietra, a prominent analyst at the Bruegel think tank, cautions, a weakened Green Deal would undermine the European Union's credibility and could prompt other global powers to retaliate. These risks are not just theoretical. Take the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, the CBAM. This innovative policy aims to prevent so-called carbon leakage by ensuring that foreign companies exporting to Europe face the same carbon costs as European manufacturers. The goal: protect European jobs and industries while maintaining high environmental standards. Yet with mounting opposition from the right, the CBAM's future is uncertain. If it is diluted or dismantled, European steelmakers, cement producers, and other energy-intensive sectors could be left exposed to unfair competition from countries with laxer environmental rules. The specter of job losses and declining industrial competitiveness looms large. Inside the European Commission, alarm bells are ringing. There is real concern that the Green Deal's interim target, cutting greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by the year 2040, may be weakened. This would not just be a symbolic setback. Investors who have poured hundreds of billions of euros into wind farms, solar parks, and innovative low-carbon technologies could lose confidence. As uncertainty grows, the pace of investment could slow. European clean tech firms, already facing fierce competition from Chinese manufacturers who dominate the global solar, battery, and electric vehicle supply chains, would struggle even more to maintain their edge. Let's dive deeper into the economic stakes. Europe's clean energy sector is not a niche industry. It is a powerhouse. According to the European Commission, renewables now directly support well over 2 million jobs across the continent, with indirect employment pushing that figure even higher. These are not just jobs in cosmopolitan capitals. They are lifelines for rural communities, coastal towns, and regions scarred by industrial decline. In Spain's sun-drenched south, massive solar farms employ thousands, while in the wind-swept fields of Denmark and northern Germany, families rely on the construction and maintenance of wind turbines. The ripple effects are felt through entire local economies, from restaurants and transport companies to schools and healthcare providers. But the consequences of a stalled green transition could be dire. If investment in renewables falters, these jobs are at risk. And it's not only about direct employment here. There is an entire ecosystem of suppliers, engineering firms, logistics providers, construction companies that could suffer. Moreover, Europe's reliance on imported fossil fuels would persist, leaving consumers vulnerable to volatile global energy prices, as the energy crises of the early 2020s demonstrated so painfully. Laurence Toubiana, the architect of the Paris Agreement and head of the European Climate Foundation, is clear-eyed. Delaying climate action will increase adaptation and mitigation costs, impacting economic stability. She points to research showing that every year of delay adds billions, yes, billions, of euros to the bill for dealing with more frequent floods, punishing droughts, and devastating wildfires. The evidence is overwhelming. Consider the catastrophic floods of the summer of 2021, which swept through Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, leaving over 200 dead and causing economic damages exceeding 40 billion euros. These events, once considered freak occurrences, are fast becoming the new normal, a direct consequence of a warming planet. So what does all this mean for the European Green Deal? Are we on the verge of squandering years of hard-won progress? Or is there still a chance to steer Europe back on course? The answer will depend on the choices made by politicians, business leaders, and citizens in the months ahead. If the far-right bloc and its allies succeed in diluting the Green Deal, the consequences will ripple far beyond Brussels. Emissions reduction targets for the year 2040, once seen as the bare minimum, could be softened. The shift to renewables could slow, undermining Europe's ambitions to compete with China and the United States in green technology. The economic fallout would be substantial. Fewer new jobs would be created in clean industries. Existing green businesses might scale back investment or shift operations abroad. European companies trying to compete in global markets could find themselves hamstrung, especially as China, the world's largest emitter, continues to pour resources into clean energy. Jos Delbecq, formerly of the European Policy Strategy Center, warns, Europe risks falling behind in the green technology race precisely as other global players are accelerating. The risks extend beyond job losses and lost market share. there is a real danger of deepening divisions within the European Union itself. Countries like Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic have long expressed reservations about the Green Deal's impact on their coal-dependent economies. If the Green Deal is weakened, these nations may slow their own transitions further, while wealthier states in Northern and Western Europe push ahead. The result could be a fragmented, two-speed Europe, one in which the benefits of the green economy are unevenly distributed, and the burdens fall disproportionately on the most vulnerable. Lawrence Tubiana does not mince words. Delaying climate action will only raise costs later and destabilize our economies. The mounting evidence from climate science is sobering. The longer Europe waits, the more it will have to spend on rebuilding after disasters and on helping communities adapt to a changing environment. Ottmar Edenhofer, director at the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, adds, "Failure to deliver on the Green Deal's promise would have severe consequences, not just for Europe's economy, but for its social fabric and global reputation." Yet the story is not all bleak. There are glimmers of hope and new opportunities on the horizon. The European Commission, recognizing the risk of social backlash, is actively developing a social climate fund. The ambition is to channel tens of billions of euros to households and small businesses struggling with rising energy costs or job losses linked to the green transition. This is not just financial aid, it is a commitment to fairness, to ensuring that the benefits and burdens of decarbonization are shared equitably. Political alliances are also in flux. While the far right has gained influence, strong centrist and progressive blocs remain determined to defend and even expand Europe's climate ambitions. In the coming months, the European Parliament will be a battleground of ideas, a place where new coalitions could emerge to protect the Green Deal's most transformative elements. The question is whether these groups can bridge their differences and present a united front against those who seek to slow or reverse progress. The private sector, too, is raising its voice. Maria Mendelus, CEO of the We Mean Business Coalition, puts it succinctly. Businesses need clear, consistent policy signals to plan their investments. Uncertainty is the enemy of innovation. In recent years, European companies have invested hundreds of billions of euros in clean technologies, from green hydrogen and advanced battery storage to carbon capture and circular manufacturing. This investment has put Europe in the vanguard of the global clean tech race. But if policymakers falter, capital could flow elsewhere, to North America, to China, to regions with more stable regulatory frameworks and clearer long-term goals. Let's widen the lens and look at the geopolitical stakes. Europe's leadership in climate policy is not just about cutting emissions, it is about influence. The European Union has used its climate ambition to shape global rules and standards, from vehicle emissions to corporate sustainability reporting. If Europe retreats, it risks losing its seat at the table in major international negotiations, from United Nations climate summits to trade talks with key partners such as the United States and China. Retaliatory measures are not out of the question. If the carbon border adjustment mechanism is weakened or abandoned, trading partners could interpret this as a sign that Europe is retreating from its climate commitments. This could invite new tariffs or trade barriers, triggering a wave of protectionism that would hurt exporters, raise prices for consumers, and undermine the global fight against climate change. The world is watching, and Europe's credibility is on the line. History offers important lessons. Recall the late 1990s, when the United States withdrew from the Kyoto Protocol. Europe's unwavering commitment kept the global climate process alive, setting the stage for later agreements like the Paris Accord. Back then, Europe's leadership rested on its willingness to follow words with action. The same principle holds today. If the continent wavers, it could embolden climate skeptics worldwide, weaken the fragile global consensus for rapid emissions cuts, and stall progress in international negotiations. What does this mean for you, the student in Lisbon, the factory worker in Katowice, the entrepreneur in Milan, the policymaker in Brussels, or the concerned citizen following these debates from afar? The direction of European climate policy will shape job prospects, energy bills, and the quality of air and water for generations. But it does not stop at Europe's borders. Decisions made in Brussels ripple outward, affecting global supply chains, trade flows, and the very pace of technological innovation in sectors, from automaking to agriculture. Let's talk practical steps. In times of political upheaval, knowledge truly is power. Staying informed about policy shifts gives you a crucial edge. Whether you are voting in a local election, deciding where to invest your savings, or planning your next career move, if you are passionate about the environment, now is the time to make your voice heard. Write to your representatives, join community initiatives, or support organizations advocating for robust climate action. If you are a business leader or investor, keep a close eye on regulatory developments. The next wave of economic growth could hinge on decisions made in Brussels in the coming weeks and months. There is a broader social lesson, too. The Green Deal is about more than achieving net zero. It is a vision for a fairer, more resilient, and more inclusive society. Luca Vicentini, from the European Trade Union Confederation, underscores the importance of a just transition, one that protects workers' rights and ensures that new green jobs are not just plentiful, but high quality and accessible to all. Without this commitment, the risk of backlash from those left behind is real and could threaten the entire project. Looking ahead, experts see several possible scenarios. One is a diluted Green Deal. Targets are weakened, progress slows, and Europe cedes ground in the global clean tech race. Another is a renewed commitment, with the political center and left forging new alliances to push through even more ambitious measures, perhaps inspired by mounting evidence of climate impacts and growing public demand for action. A third possibility is a messy middle ground, a patchwork of compromises that keeps the transition moving, but at a slower, less transformative pace. In every scenario, the challenge will be to manage the transition in a way that avoids social and economic shocks and that maintains public trust. Here is something most people overlook. Every year of delay in emissions reductions during this decisive decade could cost Europe hundreds of billions of euros in adaptation and disaster recovery by mid-century. The Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research has shown that the consequences of inaction are not distant abstractions. They are already here. Heat waves that destroy crops and endanger the elderly, storms that wipe out vital infrastructure, floods that displace entire communities. Take the floods of 2021 again. The economic and human cost was staggering, but experts warn such events could become routine without urgent action. The stakes could not be higher. If Europe succeeds in defending and strengthening its Green Deal, it could set a global standard, showing that economic growth, social justice, and environmental stewardship are not mutually exclusive. If it falters, the costs, human, economic, and ecological, could be catastrophic. Ottmar Edenhofer warns that the future of Europe's economy and society hangs in the balance. So, will Europe rise to the challenge? Or will short-term anxieties and narrow interests derail what could be a once-in-a-generation opportunity? The battle is underway, but the outcome is anything but certain. With bold political leadership, engaged citizens, and smart investment, the Green Deal can still deliver on its promise. But this will not happen by accident. It will require vigilance, courage, and the collective will of millions. Here is what you can do right now. Stay informed. Share this video with friends, family, and colleagues who care about the future. Reach out to your elected officials. Demand transparency, ambition, and fairness in climate policy. Support businesses that are investing in clean technologies and sustainable practices. And, perhaps most importantly, do not lose hope. The history of Europe is filled with moments when adversity sparked unity and innovation. The Green Deal could be one such moment, if we rise to meet it. Let us know your views in the comments. Can Europe defend its green ambitions, or is backsliding inevitable? What roles should citizens, businesses, and governments play in shaping the future? If you want to understand the forces shaping global economics and technology, subscribe to our channel for in-depth analysis and timely updates on the issues that will define this century. One last thought. The choices made today will echo for generations to come. The future is unwritten.